Thanks in this interview. From your perspective as president of the FIUC, what are the main challenges and opportunities that Catholic universities face today at the global level to remain agents of social transformation?
Well, as I said in my initial speech, the world needs Catholic universities. And why? Because we are at a particularly challenging moment for the world. And we can say, well, has there been a moment in human history when there was no war, when there was no famine, when there was no disruption? Yes, that is an argument. But today, we have the means, for instance, to eradicate famine. We have the financial means and also the scientific means. We know, because the UN has made it clear in its studies, and FAO as well, that if developed societies can meet the necessary means, that we could eradicate famine in the situations in the world where we experience it. At the same time, the way wars are being fought is quite different than 100 years ago, or 50 years ago, or even 10 years ago. In addition to this, we have a lack of trust in society, and this is completely new. It's absolutely new to our societies. The infiltration of fake news, the role that technology plays in eroding societal cohesion and trust in institutions is particularly damning. So we do need institutions that have clear values. And this is what Catholic universities have been all along. They are universities. That means pursuing to the full extent of its possibilities the pursuit of science for the common good. And we have to be at the cutting edge of science. This is extremely important. Research is costly, but it's part of what it means to be a university. At the same time, we educate communities, generations, and our values come across in these two missions, not simply in our societal engagement, our third mission, but also in the contents we teach and the way we do research. Our values defending human dignity, defending the dignity of life, defending equity, defending societies that are prosperous, right? Where the distribution of economic means is not uneven, right? As the one that we have nowadays. And basically defending the dignity of every woman and man. These values are being challenged nowadays. The values of democracy, saying that every citizen has the right to vote and that everyone matters. They're being challenged. It's the first time in history, in modern history, when we have more countries living under autocracies than democracies. So where do we come across? We honor every living being equally. For us, each individual, the voice of each individual is equal. And we need to widen the access to our universities to disadvantaged communities, right? We need to continue to pursue science for the common good. And we know that there have been times in history when scientific development was not carried out for the common good. Let's think of the way in which eugenics was advanced and considered a science in the 1920s and the 1930s, and in some developed countries in the 1960s and 70s. So science is not neutral. It needs to be anchored in values. And this is where Catholic universities come across, because we are not neutral. We are very clear about the values that we defend. And societies need us. There's a whole discourse nowadays about values-driven universities. Well, that's where we are. The whole discussion around purpose in enterprises, I say, well, we've always been clear of our purpose. We don't need to come up with new methodologies to discuss purpose, because we are very clear where our purpose is and how meaningful the education we provide is as well. So I would say that this is, despite the challenges that we face, that this is a time for opportunity for Catholic universities. And it is also a time for opportunity for collaboration. Because science is not cultivated with borders. There's a German scholar, writer that I quote at length Goethe. We all know Goethe. He was an extraordinary writer, also a scientist. And he said that science is not a national endeavor. And this was in the 18th century. It's not something that you cultivate simply for the pursuit of your nation, because scientists need to communicate and collaborate across borders, the same as educators, right? So the mobility of our faculty, our students within the universities in our network, and the collaborations we create so that our impact can be scaled up globally. This is what we need to advance in federations like IFCU. IFCU is a space, a platform for collaboration and for advancement of our values.
And about IFCU and collaboration, 100 years after the founding of the IFCU, how do you envision the evolution of the Catholic educational mission and its relevance in a world marked by cultural, political, and environmental crises?
I think we have a number of signposts and guidelines that clearly address the challenges that we have now. And I would say the encyclical Laudato Si is very clear. And it's very clear as well on the mission that we have to pursue and what the main challenges are. As you say, the climate crisis and the defense of biodiversity is something that is absolutely crucial if we are to defend the future for the youth. And it is very clear that the younger generation is very much aware of this crisis, and they want leadership from the universities. They don't simply want us to be places that react, but they need our leadership to advance a roadmap for the defense of biodiversity and for the mitigation of climate change. So I would say that our role is very much one of taking the reins of leadership, not reacting, but being proactive. Another challenge that we are discussing almost on every meeting of universities gathering is, of course, the role of AI. AI will disrupt our model of education. That is for sure. So we have to be very aware of what we're going to do. There is certainly potential for good there, but there's also potential for evil. For instance, I will give you just a small example. Online education is good. It allows us to expand our reach to communities that would otherwise not have the ability to have an education. So that is good. But having said that, we know that the way education is going forward is not simply by dint of online. And online for us is a tool. We have professors, we have students, and it's the means through which they engage that is virtual. But it depends. The model itself is almost 1,000 years old, is the interaction between faculty and students. And this is something that no matter what technology we wish to introduce into our institutions, that we need to continue to uphold. Because education is a human effort. Pope Francis speaks about the head, the heart, and the hands, right? And it is very much that. It is cognitive, it is emotional, and we all know what teachers represent to us and how teachers from primary school onwards, the influence they have in shaping the future of the young generation, right? We know that some of our choices have been shaped by the teachers that we have met along the way. So that presence is not simply cognitive. It has to do with knowledge, of course, but it's not simply knowledge. It is the presence, the physical presence of bodies in a classroom, right? And the interaction, the knowledge that comes with that. And then the hand, how you translate that into real concrete practices in society. So we have to be very clear on these principles and not fall into the siren song of, now we don't need teachers. We can learn with machines, or we can have a robot that can, be an instructor for language learning. And that is that, because it's simply mechanical. Education is not mechanical. Education is human-based. And that is also something that is challenging for us as AI advances. There are certainly a lot of good that we can take from AI for our organizations to make them more efficient, more lean. But we have to be aware of this human presence and keep it there.
And do you have a final message to the IFCU audience, to the young people, to the students?
Well, I want to say two things. First, I want to say that for me, it was really a privilege to be president of IFCU for 7 years. I learned a lot. It was a very humbling experience, and it tells you how important it is for each one of us to understand that we are a minority in the beautiful world that we have, and that our beliefs, our culture is extraordinary, but it has to be open to the richness of the global reality and to understand those realities. IFCU is a primordial federation, a position to understand this diversity, to act on this local diversity, and to create a potential for growth where it is needed. It has been an extraordinary experience. My message to the audience is the world needs you. You are up to the challenge. You have to believe that you are up to the challenge. Don't give up, persevere, and continue in your service to society and the church.